Hello, and welcome back to A Real Horror Show. So far on this channel, I've shown you guys my favourite collectibles that I own from some of horror's most beloved franchises. I've showcased the very best items in my collection from A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Evil Dead, the Child's Play series, and of course, Halloween. But I noticed that I somehow have missed making a video focusing on one of horror's most famous and successful franchises. There was an entry released for this franchise for nearly every year of the 1980s. It's usually considered the greatest set of films within the slasher genre, and also features one of, if not the, most iconic villain in horror movie history. And of course, I'm talking about Friday the 13th. The legacy of these films is just astounding, and it's clear that people just can't get enough of the man behind the mask, Jason Voorhees, and of course his talent for disposing of sex-crazed teenagers in the woods. I believe that Jason may still be the villain that holds the record for the highest kill count in cinema history, and over the years he's definitely provided us with some of the most memorable ones for sure. And, like all great horror franchises, this series has a plethora of merchandise and collectibles. From action figures to art prints to hockey mask shaped lights. I didn't think this was going to be an unboxing video, but... okay. Let's see, is there a button? Oh, it's quite nice, is that? Very cozy. That's not item number 5 on this list, by the way. I think I've had that thing for like 2 years and I've just never unboxed it. Well, no time like the present. Anyway, today we're going to be taking a look at some of the very best Friday the 13th collectibles that I own in my horror collection. Making this video has made me realise just how much Friday the 13th stuff I've got littered around this room. So let's get into it. So, coming in at number 5 is this NECA Ultimate Jason Voorhees figure as seen in 2003's Freddy vs. Jason. I've got the whole collection of Friday the 13th Ultimate figures, which reminds me I will probably make a collection video talking about every Ultimate NECA figure I've got. If that's something you guys want to see, then let me know in the comments below. And even though this figure in particular is probably not the best of the bunch, it's definitely not my favourite Jason Voorhees figure. He takes the number 5 spot because inside he is signed by the actor who played Jason Voorhees, 𝙤𝙎𝙎𝙎. I haven't actually opened this figure in quite a while, and I forgot that Ken wrote Freddy sucks in a speech bubble up there. You've gotta love that. So I met 𝙤𝙎𝙎𝙎 at the Weekend of Hell in Germany a few years ago now, I think back in 2019, and that's also where I got one of my all-time favourite photo ops from any convention. Ken's a really nice guy, it was great to have a chat with him, and I still think that he's a legend for going through with that photo op. Now to take a quick look at the figure itself, I've got to say that as usual, NECA have done an outstanding job on this Ultimate Jason Voorhees figure. In terms of accessories, Jason comes with 2 different machetes, one that's blood splattered, a nice cute little teddy bear, and he also comes with 2 additional masks, one that's covered in blood and one that has Freddy's scratch marks down it. But by far the best accessory in this action figure is the extra flames that will attach to one of the machetes, recreating one of the most awesome scenes from that film. And as you can see up here, I also have the Freddy vs. Jason box set that NECA brought out back in, I actually think in 2003 or 4, pretty much right after the film was released. And obviously with this being 20 years old, this figure here is a massive improvement to the Jason that comes with that set. But I've got to say that this set has aged beautifully. We're still waiting on NECA to make more Ultimate Freddy figures. Hopefully one day soon we'll be getting an Ultimate Freddy from Freddy vs. Jason to go with this guy here. Coming up next is this NECA Retro Cloth Jason Voorhees as seen in Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives. That was a mouthful. Right off the bat, I've got to say that I believe this is one of the best Jason Voorhees figures we have ever seen. And it's also one of the best figures in NECA's Retro Cloth line. And the Retro Cloth line is probably my favourite from NECA. And that's another video idea for the future, talking about all the Retro Cloth figures I have, because I've got quite a lot of them and they're definitely my favourites. But part of the reason why this figure might be one of my favourites is because I am a huge fan of Jason Lives. In my opinion, it's definitely one of the best entries in the Friday the 13th franchise, franchise. But on top of that, I just love the design of Jason in this film as played by C.J. Graham. This is the film where Jason is first resurrected and therefore becomes the truly unstoppable zombie-like killing machine that a lot of people most associate with this character. I love the offbeat humour in this entry of the franchise, and that James Bond intro kills me every time I see it. And also, we can't forget that rocking theme tune written by Alice Cooper. But anyway, back to this guy here. As I said, I absolutely love the design of Jason Voorhees as he appears in this film. And NECA did an immaculate job of recreating that with this figure. I don't know what it is about the design, I just think he looks badass. I just love everything from the mask to the gloves to the utility belt, which I think should have stayed as a permanent design for this character. Overall, this figure is just one of the best designed ones from NECA, and the attention to detail and the amount of effort put into this figure is just, well, it's clear to see. In terms of accessories, Jason comes with a fence post that we see at the start of the film, the thing that Jason is impaled with that actually brings him back to life in a very Frankenstein sort of manner, a hunting knife, and of course, his iconic machete. You can't have a Jason figure without the machete. Another reason why I'm such a fan of the retro cloth line is because of the spectacular artwork that accompanies all these figures. This one in particular is one of the best, and it's done by one of the greatest horror artists out there today, Jason Edmiston. But what makes this figure truly special, and the reason why it's on the number 4 spot, is because, for one, this figure's extremely rare now, and he's been extremely hard to get hold of for many years now. And on top of that, it's also signed by the actor C.J. Graham, who played Jason. Another really awesome guy. I've met him a few times at different conventions. A really down-to-earth guy to have a chat with, and yeah, just an awesome guy. So for those reasons, this figure comes at number 4. Taking the number 3 spot in this list is this NECA Cult Classics Series 1 Jason Voorhees as seen in Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. Yep, once again, another NECA figure. But look, at the end of the day, NECA have made some amazing stuff over the years, and regardless of that, the items on this list really are the best of the bunch. This figure in particular is quite significant, as this is actually the first figure of NECA's much beloved Cult Classics line. That line started back in 2005, which means that this figure here is almost 20 years old. To me, that's crazy. But amazingly, this guy still holds up to this day. First things first, I absolutely love the packaging on the old Cult Classics figures. They usually always featured the movie poster along the side of the figure, which is kind of like what I was just talking about with the new retro cloth line of figures. And even though this was the first of the NECA Cult Classics figures, they went all out for it. I mean, not only does this figure come with a display base, which I'll talk about in just a second, but he also comes with multiple accessories, from a spear to an axe, and yeah, again, the machete. Even back in 2005, NECA were basically making Ultimate figures. But speaking of the Ultimate line of figures, it was only just over a year ago that NECA actually remade this guy in the Ultimate figure line, and this is still the last Jason figure we've received from NECA. It would be kind of unfair to compare these figures, especially with this one being 20 years old, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Now, I will say I was just about to go into the details of this figure, but just take a look at how much stuff actually comes with this guy. In terms of the word ultimate, this is the ultimate Jason Voorhees figure. I mean, the sheer amount of accessories with this guy is just absolutely insane. NECA really went all out with this guy. Again, it's been a while since I've opened this up, and I've just forgot how much stuff this guy came with. This is making me realise that I should definitely do a video based around my ultimate collection of figures, and then I'll actually be able to go into detail about these guys. And obviously the figure itself has an absolutely magnificent sculpt. This is another one of those Jason designs that I absolutely love, and it's definitely one of his more iconic looks. I just love how zombified he is, how you can see his ribcage through the ripped clothing and everything. But coming back to the OG, I will say something that this figure has which the new one doesn't is that display base. Back when NECA was doing the Cult Classics line, it was very common to see the figures come with some kind of display base. That is something that you just don't see anymore with action figures, and that I think is a true shame. I really hope that these display bases is something that we see again in the future, and I really hope that NECA does consider that. I mean, could you imagine if the Ultimate figures now came with display bases like this? They would make for insane display pieces. This Friday the 13th film is also very significant, as it's the first time Jason was portrayed by actor Kane Hodder. Kane has played the character a total of 4 times on screen, and to this day is the actor most associated associated with Jason Voorhees. And as you can clearly see, this figure is also signed by Kane Hodder, which is just one more reason why this figure comes in at number 3. I don't think many of you will be surprised with what's next on this list, as coming in at number 2, we have the San Diego Comic-Con 2015 NECA exclusive Pamela Voorhees figure from the original Friday the 13th. Yep, you all knew it was coming. To this day, this is still considered one of the holy grails of horror action figure collecting. Some people even say it is the rarest NECA figure or horror figure ever made, which is a topic that I talk about in my last video, so I highly recommend you go check that video out if you've not seen it yet. I think it's pretty obvious why this thing comes in at number 2. I mean, besides its rarity and the fact that it is a holy grail item, this figure is also signed by special effects legend Tom Savini, who of course did the special effects work on the original Friday the 13th, I think all the way up to the 4th film he actually did the special effects, and the actor 𝙅𝙊𝙄𝙉𝙎, the first person to ever portray Jason Voorhees, as he plays the kid Jason in the first film. Still to this day, I believe that's one of the most iconic moments in horror history. That jump scare at the end of the film is still effective to this day. Depending on how loud the TV is, on repeat watchings of this film, it still makes me jump now and again. And the idea for that jump scare was actually Tom Savini's, and he was inspired by the ending of Carrie. So there's the horror trivia fact of the day. Looking at the figure itself, NECA just hit the ball out of the park. Besides this figure being the rarest retro cloth figure and rarest NECA figure, it's also just one of the best. The sculpt of Pamela Voorhees has a fantastic likeness to the actress Betsy Palmer. And as for the paintwork and the tailoring on this figure, NECA have just done a brilliant job. I especially love the great job that they've done on Pamela's infamous blue sweater, and I think that the Camp Crystal Lake shirt that Jason's wearing just looks great. The sculpting and the paintwork on Jason in this is also just spot on. Now correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think this may still be the only action figure release featuring Kid Jason. I don't know if one came out years and years ago, I'm not too sure, but as far as I'm aware, I'm pretty sure that this is still the only one. Overall, this is a fantastic figure release, and it's gone down in horror collecting legend and still remains to be one of the most sought after and rarest releases from NECA, and one of the holy grails of horror action figure collecting, and also one of the holy grails in my collection. Now before we get to number 1, I just want to say a massive thank you if you've made it this far in the video. I can't tell you guys enough how much I appreciate all the support and love on this channel. I do want to say that it would mean a lot to me if you guys could please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I saw in my analytics that apparently only something like 5 to 10% of my viewers are actually subscribed. So if you guys really love this content and love what I'm putting out there, please subscribe to the channel so I can carry on bringing you guys this awesome content. Oh, and by the way, please let me know in the comments below what kind of content you guys want to see on this channel. If there's anything you guys want me to showcase in a future collection video, let me know. Now, without further ado, let's get to number 1. Now you guys might be thinking, what can possibly be the NECA Pamela Voorhees figure? It's said to be one of the rarest horror figures ever made, and a holy grail item for any horror collection. Well, in terms of Friday the 13th memorabilia, I think I have one thing that does beat it. So, coming up at number 1 is this bottleneck gallery Friday the 13th art print of the iconic original artwork signed by most of the cast. Honestly, in terms of Friday the 13th memorabilia, I don't really know how it can get much better than this. I mean, this is the film that started it all. And to this day, I'm confident in saying that this is one of the most iconic horror posters and horror artwork in cinema history. This screen print was released by Bottleneck Gallery, and it was extremely limited in edition size. There were 2 variants put out of this poster, and one of them was a foil variant, which is the one that I own. I don't know how well that's going to come up on camera, but if you look at the knife that the silhouette is holding, it does actually shine, as the base of the poster is a kind of foil material. A really simple but a really nice touch. But of course, what makes this the number 1 Friday the 13th item is just because of the plethora of squiggles and autographs that I've got on this thing. First of all, this poster is actually signed by the original artist who illustrated this iconic iconic artwork, 𝙅𝙊𝙄𝙉𝙎. I really hope I pronounced that name properly. Feel free to correct me if I didn't. That is just one of those autographs that I thought I would never own in my horror collection. But on top of that, we also have Robbie Morgan, who played Annie. We have 𝙤𝙊𝙄𝙉𝙎, the first Jason. Ron Milkey, who played Officer Dorth. We have Janine Taylor, who played Marcy. The composer, Harry Manfredini, who is still one of the nicest convention guests I have ever met. I had a really long, nerdy talk with him about all things music as I play piano, and he actually taught me one of the piano chords that he used in the Friday the 13th theme. Harry Manfredini also came up with that famous that the series is now infamous for. We also have Adrienne King down here, who played the final girl, Alice. And to top all of that off, this poster is also signed by the one and only Sean S. Cunningham, the director of the original Friday the 13th. I just want to say that everyone who signed this poster was an absolute delight to meet in person. They're all such lovely people, so down to earth. I had many laughs and a great chat with all of them, and I'm very proud of this piece in my collection. Something that I really do appreciate is how Sean Cunningham basically signed this twice, as he took a red Sharpie pen and signed the foil knife to match the blood. I just think that was really awesome of him to do. So yeah, I would say that this is the #1 Friday the 13th item in my entire collection. But I'm still missing a couple of signatures on that poster there. Hopefully in the future I can add Tom Savini to that, as well as Tassos Stavrakis, who assisted Tom Savini with the special effects on the film, but also was the stand-in for Betsy Palmer at the end of the film as, spoiler alert, she gets her head decapitated by Alice. Ever notice those hands look a little bit hairy? That's because it was Tasso. So that's the end of today's video. Once again, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this collection showcase video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments below what you guys want to see from this channel in the future, and also feel free to tell me what the focus should be of my next collection room showcase video. I've got plenty of great content planned coming your guys' way, so until next time guys, take care.